and of course changing the future for bowling in a very bright and fully immersive way. So Korea warming up, high-fiving. Now, what we spent earlier on, of course, this is trios, of course, and now there are 4 ladies there. How and what point do the team managers or the players themselves choose which 3 are going to play?
Well, I think in this scenario, that was determined during the practice sessions, the warm-up. It has to be a quick decision. You have 1 game. That's it. So you have to be confident with that decision. All 4 players at this level, very capable. In this case, Sherry Tan being left-handed, potential factor, depending on how the left side looks and how much traffic. There were no lefties, I don't believe, in our first match. So all things to consider.
Singapore starting off with a strike there. You can't really get much better than that in the way that we're going to be playing these games. So this is a 1-game match, as we call it. So basically it is whoever wins this will go through to the final to take on Guatemala tonight. When we get to the final, it's a race to 2. That means, believe it or not, yes, I know you've guessed it already, I'm sure you're with me, it's the first one to 2 will be the world champions in their relevant category. Off to Korea we go. Again, matching up like for like. 2 strikes to start off, Matt. Nice confident start.
Definitely, if you look through the past results at the World Championships, Korea scattered through as far as, again, dominating at times and just having a huge presence at these events. And Singapore now branching out, joining us on the Professional Ladies Tour in the United States. So those names a little more familiar, but again, they live and breathe this stuff.
Well, as I say, the Korean team have been on the international circuit for a long time. As you say, it is part of their DNA almost. It's the way that they live their life. Eat, breathe, and of course drink this wonderful game. Now, missing that 10-pin there, going to cause a problem for this one, or should we have this cleared up quite easily? I know we're not going to, they can't hear us, Matt. They can't hear us. This should be relatively straightforward. Huh?
Well, you wouldn't believe the things that we get blamed for, just walking up with the camera or doing commentary. But again, these are the best of the best, and you're looking right now at Shayna Ung, who won the singles event here earlier in the week. So you don't get to that level and that experience.
Yes, this is the reigning women's singles final champion. I will not speak and utter another word about a 10-pin placement again. I'm going to be in trouble if she hears this commentary.
Now we might find some of the players who bowled last night even and find out what was the situation.
Yeah.
You know, was it the corner of the approach? Is there something, or is it just again just the fact that there's people all around us, which is also unique for our sport to have people to the side.
I was talking about this to AJ last night. If you're in the right-hand lane, the lane closest to us here in our commentary position, and you're right-handed, there is nothing, there's a drop-off to the right. Is that a subconscious kind of factor? Because if you're bowling in a lane in a bowling alley, there's another lane there to the right generally, or a wall, I'm guessing, but in competition it's in the middle. Is that anything to do with it, do you think?
Well, I definitely think, depending on which lane you're on and which corner you're shooting at, 100%. Because if you're used to being so far over, you don't have that opportunity here. You have to adapt to the environment, and those little nuances can totally change your day.
I think that's what we're kind of looking at, that right-hand lane there, and the right-hand corner pin, the 10-pin just missed there as the right-hand edge of the lane. As I said, there's a little drop-off there, but coming back with a good shot.
In that situation, the right-handers, they want to be on the right lane because they're going to be moving left to shoot cross lane at that. So that's the ideal situation. If it was the other way around, if you're left-handed there or you're a right-hander on the left lane, then it gets a little bit tricky.
So as the communications manager for the Team USA, you guys travel all around the world, Matt, and you're obviously with the team members. What kind of preparation, not only for the girls, but for the guys as well, do they go through to psych themselves up for a semi-final like this?
Well, I think more than anything, having the USA, or in any case, your country on your back, that'll get you going right there. That's all the motivation you need, knowing that you're representing the entire place you come from, that those folks are back home no matter what time it is. They're logged on, they're watching, they're cheering, and they're living and breathing and dying with everything that you do.
Tell me a little bit about the feedback that you've had. Have you had much feedback from the US at the moment? And of course, social media is a big thing that we all use these days. What's the kind of sense you're getting from back home?
Well, they always appreciate the coverage, of course, and just following along with how the team's doing, whether it's the ladies are their favorite or the guys. Definitely we have a lot of personalities in our group, and they do they do a great job on their own with their social media and getting the word out and sharing their side of life and the experience here. And but the folks love it. They absolutely, they're clamoring to get onto the live stream and watch, and they don't care what it looks like, and they just want to see the bowling and cheer on their team.
Well, as I said, everybody, you are watching us live from Dubai tonight. The local time here is coming up to 20 to 7 at night time. Just to give you an highlight, the sun basically goes down the same time every day, pretty much all the way around the year. Around about 5:30, 6 o'clock, we lose the daylight, and then we move into the pitch black of the desert night. Lit up tonight by the beautiful floodlights of the Sport and Wellness Hub here at Expo 2020 Dubai. And of course, jam-packed with supporters, followers of fabulous bowling, and of course, we're going to be finding out who the best trio bowlers in the world are tonight. Looking at the score then, Matt, what are we making out so far?
The double, of course, for Korea, out to a hot start, and never is it good to miss the spare, a single pin. Deficit there early for Singapore. Again, short game, quick game, and for the players, each only getting up to have just a few shots.
Now, we talked about this again the other night. On the bowler's arms, you'll see various sorts of gloves, supports, guards. This one has got lots of metal engaged, almost like a robotic arm on the bowler's arms there. Is there sort of any regulation, or is it more? So I suppose what I'm trying to find out is, does that aid you in any way?
It certainly does help with your hand position, and you'll see that again, more prevalent on the ladies' side to help with revolutions and help keep your hand behind the ball, and just it's one of those age-old bowling discussions.
Yeah.
Is it significant enough to be a thing, or is it simply just a comfort thing and to help?
And there it is. We're looking at it now. It's a contraption and a half. That one. It looks like you kind of. Almost like for anybody who's at a similar sort of age of me, the $6 million man. Matt's looking at me all blank. It's a long time ago. Yes, I'm older than you by a long way. And there's the Korean supporters. We like to do this. We like to have nice shots of the supporters, and they all get very coy, bless them. But that's what it's all about, live on TV around the world in front of the watching millions. She probably doesn't realize that until now.
So it is the wrist devices are adjustable to adjust and maintain the amount of cup on your wrist, and again, to all help with how the ball rolls, the amount of revolutions, and different lane conditions will call for just different changes that you want to do.
Now we're looking at now the world ladies singles champion, of course, from a couple of nights ago, bowled implicitly an unbelievable match. We saw there the new reigning world champion. We talked also about. We've had world champions now, of course, the men's and the ladies and the doubles last night. How does that, what's the kind of feedback they are getting from their supporters around the world and the kind of the countrymen as well? It must be an amazing feeling to be the world champion now.
100%. And for a team like Singapore, this is what they do. This is their jobs to bowl, and different focus on different events. Of course, the Southeastern or the SEA Games in Asia there, kind of the top tier World Championships, so special. Sherry Tan, who was the runner-up, the silver medalist in that match the other night, their teammates. Sherry won the Masters event at the World Championships in 2019. So these ladies have been part of this team now for going on at least a decade. So the cohesion, the camaraderie, and just the chemistry there, you can see it, and they just push each other and they succeed, and they have added to their caliber, and just medals after medals now. They're definitely contenders now, whereas 5 years ago, still kind of on the way up.
Just to let you know that we've got a little issue with the pin setter here, which is waiting for the pins to drop into position. I'm sure you will probably realize this, but these lanes were not here prior to these IBF World Championships. They have been brought in especially. They are two brand new lanes. They get re-oiled in between the various stages of the competition, and we look like the pins have been reset, and Team Singapore are ready to go. So let's get on with it. The second ladies semi-final of the Trio World Championships in Dubai 2021. Let's see what's going to happen. Well, that delay didn't do too much damage, did it, Matt?
Definite professionals here, and again, the fact that we talked about the lefty-righty situation, again, they're on the right lane, Sherry being left-handed, so much strategy. I wish we had the opportunity to talk to a coach and say, you know, maybe going into the team event, just got to get a thought for, with only 4 players, in that case, somebody's going to have to pull more frames. How do you determine, and what was the strategy going in? And it's pretty wild.
So as a communications manager, what happens now with, for instance, the way that you guys all prep? Do you watch highlight packages and video feeds of the players you're about to play against, the teams you're about to play against? Do you kind of do that sort of level of research, or do you kind of know these guys from the World Tour anyway?
We do see a lot of the players often at these events, and whether it be regionally or internationally, so you get familiar with some of the faces and the names. Of course, there's 10 tabs open on the computer at all times with past results and past social media and stories and all the things. So we can sound like we know what we're talking about when you write a story for the 10th day in a row, and try to find a unique storyline and a spin, and all that background information is very valuable to what we do.
There we have Team Korea taking the spare then, a great opportunity. Just give you a rundown of the teams tonight. Of course, as I said, it's Korea versus Singapore in the second semi-final. And of course, Cherry Tan, Shayna Ng, and we've got New Hai Fen and Ilya Simim is the 4 members of the Singapore team. Of course, there will only be 3 playing in this competition. We'll pause as we see this next delivery. And again, just sticking and keeping 2 pins high on the lane.
So now we're getting to the point in the week where some of the players will have a little bit of an advantage, having experienced this venue already and worked on or learned from, you know, what went right or what went wrong. And Shayna and Sherry being 2 of them at this point, able to convey that to their teammates and coaches. And again, we'll see the Singapore men as well this week. So just a lot of opportunity to see many different players in all these different formats too. The new introduction of the mixed team event. So all of these things, even if they're not winning, they're learning, and they're going to put that to use for their next opportunity.
Well, that's what we like, of course. I'll give you a rundown of the Korean team. We've got Sung Jae Baek, we've got Yunmi Kah, we've got Sinjin Yang, and we've got Yeran Jeon. And they are the 4 members of the Korean team, and I do apologize if I pronounce any of those names incorrectly, but Matt told me to say it like that. I'm joking, Matt, you didn't. I'm only kidding. It's all down to me. So Team Korea stepping up the lane. Great shots striking there. Team Korea realizing how important that was to get into that final. They're going to need to do a lot more of that to face Guatemala tonight. Now, looking at the trios, Matt, I mean, is there a standout team currently that, okay, there's no seedings currently, but who is the dominant trios team as far as what you are aware of? Or is there nothing really?
Just based on qualification this week, all of the teams bowled 10 games to qualify, and then in trios, the top 16 teams advanced to the round-robin match play, and then from there, based on their performance, the top 2 teams in each group went on to the quarterfinals. So in this situation, maybe the top team isn't always going to win. Again, it's a 1-game match. Anybody can beat anybody in a 1-game match, and we saw a little bit of that. For example, qualifying leader was the United States, Team USA, the defending champs, 2 times over. Came in, they averaged 236, and led the way in qualifying. And again, you just never know as things unfold. And just looking down, Colombia qualified 7th, averaged 212. So big difference there.
Big difference in scores,
Big difference. Guatemala was down, averaging just 205.
And they're already in the final. So again, based on the stats and based on the previous records, you wouldn't have put Guatemala into the final, but they are there.
If those teams bowl all 4 players a complete game, maybe a different story, maybe not. Maybe Guatemala, it's their day, it's their week. They did knock out the defending champs in the quarterfinals. It was a close match. 217-211 was the number. I don't know, at that point, maybe toss up, but certainly it builds the excitement, and that's part of what this is all about.
So as we get to just over the halfway mark in the second ladies trios semi-final at the IBF World Championships, Obviously, there are 3 players in the trios. You need me not to say that anymore, but there is, of course, a 4th member that they can choose. If you get to the final, I'm guessing you stay with the 3 players that got you to that final, or what's the likelihood of the team management changing out a player at that point?
With that opportunity, certainly it's there. That's why there's 4 players, and again, it adds into the strategy. You just never know. If somebody just has
a moment that they can't do it, yeah?
Unfortunately, if there's a reason, you do what you have to do. You make the change.
You've got to be tough. Team Korea coming up, they're keeping themselves in the match, and yes, they do again with another great strike. Soon Jabake there, clearing up the pins.
So big 3-bagger there for Korea, and early in this match, we didn't see the strings of strikes that we did. Guatemala came out hot and kind of ran away with it early. Here, both teams off to a slow start.
So Korea looking like dominant in this game at the moment, of course. I'll wait till the scores come back up again and ask you a question of what likely and maximum scores will be for the relative teams. But let's concentrate on this one for again.
So another 10-pin for Shayna, and again, sometimes
that's been a kind of story of her night so far, hasn't it?
Sometimes they just don't go, and other days you can knock them down from anywhere.
Concentration. This is what we saw in the semi-finals and then into the finals as well. And of course, it's well, you know, lots going through your mind at this stage, I would imagine. I'm not being a pro bowler myself, but of course, you know, you've got the crowd, you've got the conditions, and the pressure of clearing up that last 10-pin there.
Now, Shayna back in 2015, right down the street, Abu Dhabi. She won all events. That was the first gold medal at the World Championships for Singapore. Sherry Tan added one in 2019, and now they're keeping that trend going with the singles title. But in this case, that's
yeah.
Why
What have we got a maximum score there? You had a quick. I don't know if you saw it there, but we'll see the scores again in a second. Looking like again that 10-pin sticking high on the lane. Super bowling Korea, looking to be dominant in this second ladies trio semi-final. See Korea back up to the lane. I asked AJ last night, Matt, about the preference as a bowler to have a newly oiled lane or something that's been bedded in from a previous match. What's your thoughts on that?
And another age-old question.
Yeah.
Right? When it's fresh, you know what you're getting, what you're starting with, but sometimes they may be a little bit tougher in that regard. And then later, once they've been bowled on, all of that will depend on who bowled in front of you, what type of equipment they used, and how quickly you can figure it out. As you can see, of course, the oil is invisible. The invisible defense in our sport, and moving around with every shot. So if you want to go on logic, you go with the fresh oil pattern, but depending on who you follow, that could yield much bigger scores too.
So what are we looking at here then, Matt? As we see the scores on the screen then, we've got Korea, of course, and Singapore in the positions. In your expert opinion?
Almost a 40-pin lead for Korea, so they're looking very good. And another great shot there.
Yep.
This one looking unreachable for Singapore. The open frame early certainly killed that momentum quickly, but the small string for Korea able to really give them an advantage, and they're looking good.
A great whip action there from the right arm of the Korean team, and of course seeing that disappearing down there. So it looks like unless something untoward happens, we're going to be seeing a Korea-Guatemala a ladies singles trio final, which will be coming up later on this evening. You see in the background there, you'll see boxer-sized classes going on for all those people who fancy wandering around the fitness and wellness hub here in Expo 2020 Dubai. You can have a little game of football there or soccer in the background. You see just on cue, the football goes up into the night sky. Lots going on. And if you happen to be on the way to Expo 2020 Dubai tomorrow night, or tomorrow as a day out, but for tomorrow night we have the teams competition coming up your way from 5:30, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So you can come and join us here free of charge once you're into the Expo 2020 site. Come and join us at the Fitness and Wellbeing Hub, and you could be part of the crowd and on the telly watching by the millions around the world.
Now, as this one winds down, again, looking pretty good for Korea. I'd like to hear more, if you know more, about Expo 2020. We haven't seen much. We're right by the entrance. Straight in, start getting to work, and then when we're done, right back out.
Well, for me, I host a daily morning show here at Expo 2020. So every day, I feel like I should know and answer some of your questions. But yes, it is an amazing site. We have also the Dubai Air Show going on as well. And I don't know if you saw that earlier on. We had the UAE Air Force flying overhead, giving a wonderful display. Literally, if you want to see anything from the best in K-pop, we've had the best Korean K-pop bands here over the weekend, live in concert. Andrea Bocelli performed here a few weeks ago. We have so much more lined up. We've had Ellie Goulding, the star of British pop music. And we are just keeping on getting better. And for you, Matt, in the American Pavilion, I know you're going to like this, the Disney princesses turned up and did a special cool performance of Moana and such. But I can see you're very proud of that moment.
That sounds awesome. They should be over here watching the guys.
Striking out for Korea, that looks like it. It's done and dusted. Team Korea are on the edge, and I think we're getting the handshakes and the acknowledgement from the crowd. It's all done and done. What's the phrase you use when it's, in England we would say it's all over by the shouting, or what's the kind of phrase when it's, there's nothing left to do?
I think my associate Aaron Smith would say this one's in the books.
In the books?
It's in the books for Korea.
Okay.
They're going to go, they're going to regroup, get ready for Guatemala, Singapore. Going to go again. Get some rest. So we still have some competition coming up, team event tomorrow.
Exactly, indeed. As they wind it up with a strike and finishing off their game, Sunjabaek super bowling tonight here in Dubai and not letting down her team in any way. So, going for that final strike to create a big score for them compared to what they've done in the qualies as well.
Max score right here, 245. Good momentum going into the next one, but it really doesn't matter in our sport. If you win by 1 or 100, you're a winner.
That's exactly right.
And Korea did bowl well in qualifying. They averaged 222.
Okay.
Not too bad. So above that average here on this 44-foot oil pattern.
Yeah, exactly that. What did you say it was in their qualies? In the qualifying, 222. And we'll see, of course, the qualifying all finish in this one, because we see the second team going through to the final in the trios tonight in the IBF World Championships. Of course, that is going to be, but now we know, between Korea and Guatemala. So that match should be coming up later on this evening.